What's going on YouTube? It's Slosh, and today I'm going to show you how to get the new Smoldering Ember Wyrm mount added in patch 7.1. This new mount does drop from a secret boss, Nightbane, that was just discovered last night in the new Karazhan Mythic Dungeon. Now in order to spawn this boss, you're going to have to speedrun through the first part of Karazhan, so I do recommend flasking and using DPS potions on cooldown. The speedrun involves the crystals you clicked on for the quest the first time you went into the new Karazhan dungeon added in 7.1. Now if you've already full cleared the dungeon, you do have an advantage of knowing which way to go and where these crystals are going to be located. So I recommend doing the full dungeon at least once before you attempt to do the speedrun. I also highly recommend at this point making sure that you have DBM downloaded and updated, because it will give you a timer for how much time you have to reach that first crystal. It's also important to note that that timer does not start until you open the wooden door when you enter Karazhan. Now that first crystal is located after you kill the Opera event and clear the next few trash bags. At this point, it's very important to note that crystals cannot be clicked while you are in combat, as well as you need to make sure that everyone is close enough to the crystal to receive the buff. The very first crystal is located between two very large trash bags. You're going to want to make sure you reach that first crystal with ample time so that you can pull both trash bags on both sides of the crystal before you attempt to click on it. Once you click on that crystal, you're going to receive a buff that is called Matias Echo, and it'll have a 6-minute duration. Each subsequent crystal you click on after that will add 5 minutes to this buff's duration. So the faster you can get to the second crystal, the more time you'll have to reach the third crystal, and so on and so forth. The second crystal is actually located before Maiden, which means you don't have to kill any bosses on the way to it. You only have to clear the trash. Now, our tank actually DC'd in the video here, as you see, after we clicked that crystal. So he was gone for about 30 seconds, and we still made it to the third one on time. So you can tell the timers, it's strict, but it's not very strict if you outgear it, just like any other content in World of Warcraft. I do recommend, after you click this second crystal, to go on the way back to Moreau, to go to the balcony above him and jump down from there. That's going to save you a lot of time and save you from having to kill a lot of trash on the way to Moreau. For the actual Moreau fight, CC the 2 leftmost, kill the 2 right. Once the 2 right are dead, kill the 2 left without putting too much into Moreau. After Moreau is dead, the crystal is behind him, where he spawned, behind that table there. You're going to want to make sure everyone's grouped up because you have to be within range of the crystal, and you're going to click on that crystal. And then you're going to get another 5 minutes added to your buff. The fourth crystal after you kill Moreau is located in the spider room down by the front entrance of the original Karazhan. As you work your way through this area, you're going to want to remember 2 things. First, pull small packs. The debuff that the spiders put on the tank is going to cause a lot of damage to the tank, so he can't take a lot of spiders at one time. Second, make sure the tank is facing those spiders away from the healers and DPS, because they do a frontal ability which does a lot of damage to the group. After you click on that 4th crystal, you're going to want to take that portal back to the entrance of Karazhan. You're now going to go in the opposite direction that you started in and work your way up to the Curator. Once you've killed the Curator, the 5th and final crystal is going to spawn on his body. Once again, just like the previous 4 crystals, make sure everyone is grouped up before you click on the crystal, because if you are too far away, the buff won't go out to everybody in the group. Once you click on that final crystal, you're going to get a 5-minute buff called Medivh's Presence. All you have to do now is just run back to the entrance and go out into Nightbane's Terrace and speak with Medivh. The 5-minute timer here isn't really much of a factor because it is pretty easy to get back down there. Once you talk to Medivh, you're going to get an achievement called One Night in Karazhan, and after a little bit of RP, Nightbane's going to come down and land on the terrace. At this point, you are in the clear. Once Nightbane is spawned, he's not going to despawn. If you wipe or anything like that, he's always going to be there. So you have as many attempts or however long it takes you to kill him. But he is a pretty difficult encounter, so I'm going to go over some of the different mechanics he has. Nightbane is a dragon boss, which means he does have a frontal breath ability and a tail swipe ability. That means you're going to want to make sure your DPS and your healer, at any point during the encounter, are not in front of the boss or behind the boss. So when the tank is moving the boss, you have to be very careful not to get hit by the tail swipe or the breath. The first ability he's going to do is an interruptible cast called Reverberating Shadows. This is the only cast you can interrupt during the fight, so a 2-person kick order will do the trick for this. A short ways into the fight, he's going to spawn a fire-like patch on the ground called Charred Earth under a ranged player. That means you're going to want your ranged players to stack on one side of the boss, so you can work your way around the terrace without running out of room. Shortly after the Charred Earth ability goes out, he's going to put a debuff on one of your players other than the tank called Ignite Soul. This debuff is going to do group-wide damage for however much health that person has remaining. So that means that person with the debuff Ignite Soul is going to have to get into one of those fire patches and take as much damage as possible without dying, so that less damage goes out to the whole group. This is a 3-phase fight, and the second phase is going to start when Nightbane reaches 50% health. At 50% health, Nightbane's going to go up in the air and spawn a big Bonad. During this phase, Nightbane's going to put a continuing debuff on all of the players that will last for the rest of the fight. This debuff does a moderate amount of ticking damage, and it will last for the rest of the fight, like I said. So this means, as soon as this phase starts, you're going to want to pop Heroism and all of your big DPS cooldowns to get as few stacks of that debuff as possible. After the large Bonad is dead, that will be the end of the second phase, and phase 3 will begin. At the start of phase 3, Nightbane will land once again, and continue to cast all of the same abilities that he casted in phase 1. He will have one additional ability in this final phase, and that is Bellowing Roar, which is an uninterruptible cast that causes everyone in the group to be feared for 3 seconds. It is very important that you don't stand in front of the boss or near the tail or near any of the fire patches on the ground at this point, as you don't want to get feared into them. At this point, phase 3 is a rinse and repeat of phase 1 with that added ability Bellowing Roar, as well as everyone will have that debuff for the rest of the fight, so this phase 3 is very healer intensive. Once you get the boss down, he is going to drop the mount for one person in the group, and it's personal loot. Unfortunately, not everybody in the group gets the mount the first go-around, so you are going to have to do this for a continuing 5 weeks, hopefully with the same people, and they stick around with you. I do hope everyone enjoyed the guide. This is the first one I've done for World of Warcraft, so this is very exciting for me. If you did enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button down below so you can get notifications for when I bring you more content in the future, as well as check for a link in the description down below to catch a live stream over at twitch.tv. That's going to be all I have for you today. I hope everyone has a great day, and good luck on the mount.